and that's my second solution. So I've got my two solutions here from the two equations that I created. And the first thing I had to do in this equation was get rid of that coefficient 2. Okay, what questions do you guys have about that equation? Oops, sorry.
Will one of the answers always be positive and negative?
That's a great question. Not necessarily. In all the examples that I have so far, yes, but that's not always going to be the case. If you had a number big enough out here, well, I guess that number will always be negative. You could probably get one where you have a 0, but I think most of the time maybe you will have a number that's positive and negative. It depends on the function, though. That was a great question.
Ms. Roberts.
Yes.
You lost me when you had started breaking them apart and stuff. Like when I don't know. Yeah.
Okay, so the only thing that I did was I wrote the exact equation down, dropped the absolute value bars, and made one of the numbers positive and one negative. So the stuff that's outside of the absolute value on the other side of the equal sign, we make one of them positive and one of them negative to get our two different equations.
Okay, when you have a equation like you did on the second one and it's a 2 in front, well, it's a number in front of the absolute value bar, you got to get rid of it by dividing?
Exactly, yes.
Okay.
Perfect.
Can you do one more example like the last one, please?
Yes, absolutely. The next example is, it even adds a little bit more to it. So I'm going to go ahead and flip this. If you're not done copying, try to take a quick picture, or you can just look at the scan that I post of these notes afterwards. All right. So in the next example, right, I'm going to have one where I have 3 out front of the absolute value bar, and then I have 4x plus 2 inside, and then I'm going to subtract 7 from this whole thing over here. I'm going to set it equal to 11. Now there's a bunch of stuff outside of my absolute value bars, and I've got to get rid of it all, okay? So this has got to go, and this has got to go. Okay, so the very first thing I want to do is I want to get rid of that 7, because if I divided first, then I get a bunch of fractions. I would get -7/3, and I would get 11/3. And from my experience, you guys prefer to avoid using fractions in your algebra. So we're going to avoid that by,
I got a question.
Okay, what's your question?
Okay, so why, I know you like saying like this stuff gonna be posted on Canvas, but like if you want us to write this stuff down, like when you talk, it don't sound like no Zoom call. It sounds like a video, no cap, and I can't even just watch it. That's all I can do is just watch it. It's so fast, Miss. I'm sorry, but I cannot write that fast. The way you talk, it's like so fast.
So I'm going as slow as I possibly can and still fit the curriculum into 45 minutes. So
it's hard to write down and listen at the same time.
I'm trying my absolute best. I'm posting the video again afterwards. You can go back through and pause it as many times as you need to catch up, and I'll post the finished notes at the end as well, okay? I'm going as slow as I possibly can. So the first thing we're going to do here is we're going to add 7 to both sides. So I'm going to add 7. Add 7. Okay. On the left-hand side of the equal sign, I'm canceling those 7s out. That's the whole point. And then I want to add the 11 and the 7 on the right-hand side to get 18. Okay. Now what's left on the left-hand side is 3 times 4x plus 2, all inside of those absolute value bars. Okay, now there's still something left. outside of our absolute value bars, and we need to get rid of it. We've got to get rid of the 3. So I'm going to divide by 3 on both sides. Okay, then 3's here will cancel. And I'm left with the absolute value of 4x plus 2 equals, and then 18 divided by 3 should give me 6. Okay, now we have our absolute value entirely separated from the rest of the equation. It's by itself, it's isolated. So now we can split it into our 2 different equations. When we split into our 2 different equations, we're going to make one without absolute value bars, or both of them without absolute value bars. And one is going to be equal to the positive value, and one is equal to the negative value. Okay. And then we solve each one. So here, I'm going to add 2 to both, I'm sorry, subtract 2 to, actually, I'm going to ask you guys to help me out with this. Nakaya, can you help me out?
What is that?
So can you help me out with solving this equation? What's my first step I'm going to do?
You gonna subtract the 2 from the 2 and the 6.
Uh-huh. Okay, and then what do I do now?
And then you're gonna divide by 4 on both sides.
Perfect.
It's gonna be 1.
Yep. Perfect. Yep. Thank you very much, Nakaya. Okay, and then Heaven, are you here?
Yes.
All right, so what do I do on this side, or for this equation?
2 by 2 and subtract 2 by negative 6. You'll get 4x equals 8.
Negative 8, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then you divide by 4.
And negative 8 over 4 is?
Negative 2.
Perfect. Okay, so we have our 2 solutions. All right, questions on this example? This example is complete now. Okay, we have one last example with a special case that we're going to do. And then if we finish before time is over, if you guys would like more examples, I'd be happy to do them for you. Okay, so in our next example, we're going to have a special case. Okay, so I am going to have maybe the absolute value of x minus 5 plus 8 equals 2. So this looks pretty normal, yeah? And the first thing we're going to do is we need to get all of the stuff that's not inside the absolute value away. We have to isolate the absolute value. So what am I going to do?
You're going to isolate the absolute value?
Yeah, and how do I do that?
By minusing 8.
Perfect.
What?
And 1. What do I get when I take 2 and I subtract 2?
Hold on, bro. My teacher caught on me. She caught on me.
1, are you still there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, so what do I get when I take 2 and I subtract 8 from it?
You get 6, negative 6.
Perfect. Now, I'm going to open this up to anybody. Does anybody see an issue with this equation right here? Okay, so think about absolute value. Absolute value should always.
It's a negative instead of
It has to
positive.
be a positive?
Yeah, good. So this should always be a positive value, but we're setting it equal to a negative value. So we have a contradiction.
Why you do that to me?
This symbol means contradiction in math, like a diagonal hashtag. So the contradiction is this right here. We can't have a negative equal to an absolute value. Okay, so I'm going to write that out. Okay. So our final answer for this particular problem is going to be no solutions. Okay, what questions do you guys have about that?
Does that always happen when it's a negative?
Yeah, if you have your absolute value totally isolated and it's equal to a negative number, you can just stop right there and say that's a contradiction. Absolute value can't be negative.
Okay.
Great question.
Just like that. Right.
Any other questions? Okay, would you guys like to do another example?
Miss Roberts,
Yes.
I was looking at the homework for today, and those look harder, like because they have the less than, equal to, and the greater than signs. Can you do like one of those examples?
So it should, you guys should only have equations for today. Hold on, let me double check it. Let me go to the homework. If that is really the case, then I need to fix the homework, so don't do this. Yeah, don't do these yet. This is what we're doing next class. I will, I guess, go ahead and fix it. Unless, do you guys have questions about just the equations while I delete these activities? Okay, so I am going to just, why can't I? Oh, it's still loading. Okay, so give me a minute. I'm going to unpublish these and I will post your correct activities in a minute. I apologize for that. I'm so sorry. What questions do you guys have while I'm fixing that? We have about 5 minutes. I really appreciate you pointing that out. I think that was Amaya that pointed it out. Thank you. Your activities for today will be like the same exact format. They will just have equations in them though. They won't have those inequalities. Here we go. Okay. Okay, well, I guess if there are no questions, I'll let you guys go ahead and go. Give me about 10 minutes to make sure that you guys have the correct activities. and then check back on Canvas and they will be posted. I will also be posting the